Hey guys, Sage here with Dirt Time Adventures, and today we are narrowing down the 6 principles of survival, and we are looking at number 5, which is to maximize rescue and comfort. I got my big helper Trinity today.
Hi.
This is my daughter, and we're going to be talking about some different survival rescue tips and some principles when it comes to being rescued. So we don't spend a lot of time talking about rescue, primarily because the skills that we train in are primitive living skills. They're long-term survival skills in the situation where you want to go out into the woods and live off the land. But rescue is an extremely vital and important skill to understand, especially for young people. My daughter Trinity here, she would never have the skill set at her age to be able to provide for her survival needs in a long-term scenario. So rescue is super important, especially when it comes to kids. So there are 2 types of rescue. There are self-rescue, where you provide for your needs and you eventually make your way out of your survival scenario. And then there's assisted rescue. This is where you need to understand different principles such as signaling. So we're going to talk about a few quick things on self-rescue, and then we're going to get into some different signaling techniques. When it comes to self-rescue, it's really important that you have a good compass. Sure, you can use terrain features and try to use different primitive navigation techniques, but without a good compass, you're going to find yourself experiencing what's called lateral drift. Lateral drift is whenever you set your direction and your mindset on one given direction and your body just naturally drifts away from that given point. And what a compass does, it allows you to set a bearing that you can keep your eye on and making sure that you're staying true to that direction. Now, you can get everything from a simple silver compass or one like Trinity's got here. You want to show them your compass? It's actually in the bottom of a whistle. And these are great little compasses, but you really don't want to be solely dependent on something like that. You're better off getting something like an Endure or a Kaminga compass, a couple different compasses that we sell, a True Arc, a couple different compasses we sell in our store. Definitely encourage you to get a good compass and keep it in your kit. Because once again, by doing so, we know that by using our compasses, keep them upright, so that way the compass can point its correct direction. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk north. So we're going to walk towards the facing our body to where the compass points north. All right, is your body facing the north? All right, now let's take 10 paces. That's going to be 10 steps. Ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you keep going. 8, 9, and 10. So by having something as simple as a good compass, Trinity is able to walk at a true direction to help her get where she needs to go. Otherwise, you're going to find what happened even just recently. A young lady went out into the woods in the United States, and there shouldn't be anywhere you go in the United States almost that you can't walk in the same direction for 4 or 5 days and not get into some civilization. But because she didn't have any type of compass and wasn't able to do any type of primitive navigation or terrain association, she ended up being lost in the woods for almost a month and lost, clearly nearly to 50 pounds. So it is important that you have some means of self-rescue, whether it's a compass, a GPS, or some other type of primitive navigation methods using the stars, or what I like to use is called the shadow stick method. So you guys can check all those out on other videos, but we're going to move on to having assisted rescue and using signaling devices. So part of this 5th principle, understanding maximizing rescue, is also to maximize comfort. You can notice we've improved our shelter, we've added some cedar boughs for our bedding, and this is just going to make our overall experience more comfortable. Sleep is one of the most undervalued resources when it comes to survival. If you don't get enough sleep, you cannot function or operate properly. So here beside me, I have several different methods of self-rescue. And I'm going to have Trinity help me demonstrate some of these methods and get her involved with understanding rescue. I really can't encourage that enough. Make sure you're getting your kids out there and passing on these skills to the next generation. The first signaling technique I want to talk about is the aspect of sound. Sound is important, especially in the woods. It can be challenging whenever you have terrain that prevents sound from traveling, but this is one of the easiest techniques for kids to learn. Especially, it's something as simple as a little whistle that Trinity has. You want to show them your whistle? With her compass. Something as simple as this little device that you make sure your kids have with you when they go into the woods could increase their odds of being found significantly. It's important that you teach your kids, especially if they're not familiar with how to use a compass, to the principle of hug a tree. Make sure they find a tree that's comfortable and set up and stay there until they're found. Having something as simple as a signal whistle to be able to transfer sound into the woods is going to help her odds significantly. Once again, with the distress signaling using sound, it is 3 loud blows of the whistle. And you're going to do this in repetition. So it'll be whistle, 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 pause, whistle, 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 pause. So you want to give it a try? 3 loud whistles, then pause, and then 3 loud whistles. Why don't you come here and you can do it closer. All right, try again. All right, but they got to be longer and loud. You ready? Let's try them again. Ready? Pause, and then 3 again. Good job. You almost had it. Give me 5. All right. So Bailey came to figure out what's going on. So the distress signal, once again, it's going to help alert rescue. But also, if you have especially a canine friend, they're going to come and find out what the whistling's all about. So we have sound. The next form of signaling for rescue is using light to your advantage. This can be everything from a flashlight, like Trinity's got here, and the same principle as the whistle. You're going to flash the light on 3 times. So in this case, we have 2 different settings, but you're going to push this button here 3 times. So I want you to go up to the camera and turn the flashlight on 3 times. So the first signaling technique is using sound. By using those 3 blows and a consecutive session of 3 blows with a pause, 3 blows with a pause, you're going to increase your odds. The second one is using light to your advantage. This can be artificial light or natural light. Everything from a simple flashlight like Trinity's holding here, where she will flash the flashlight on for 3 times, and then she'll pause, and then she'll flash them on 3 times. And doing this repetitively is going to, especially at nighttime or when the sun is setting, that's going to be unnatural when someone looks into the woods. They're going to see those flashes and going to help increase her odds. Once again, finding an open area where that you're shooting and casting it into a distance is going to also be extremely beneficial. Try not to be so enclosed into the tree's canopy. That's really important when it comes to all these signaling techniques, that you find an open space to be able to have as much broadness of a picture as you can to help your rescuers find you. So we've already talked about using light, and we looked at artificial light. Now I want to talk about natural light. Being able to use something like a signal mirror to be able to capture the sun's rays and reflect them back. So like I said, we have the aspect of sound, and then we have light or reflection is another term for light reflection. And these are excellent techniques for being able to signal for rescue. For your kit, you can take a simple little actual signal mirror, or like Trinity has here, she's got a CD that she can use to practice capturing the sun as well. And all we're trying to do is to get some reflection going. So why don't you go ahead and practice getting some reflection, capture the sun. And what we're doing is we're capturing the sun and we're twisting it up and down. Try to get 3 on and 3 off. That's going to be SOS. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Good. And the great thing about doing aerial signaling with these is they both have a little hole in the middle. So you're going to hold it on the edges. Don't stick your finger in the middle. And we're going to look up through the hole, and that you're going to put the airplane or whatever it is that you're trying to get to their attention in between your hole, and you flash up and down trying to catch the sun's rays. Once again, you're trying to capture this. Let me give you a little bit closer up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So the next signaling technique I want to talk about is ground to air signals. This is pretty universal, and we're going to be talking about 3 specific ones. The first one is the V. The V means needs assistance. You show a V? This is also good for hand signaling. Whenever you're in an open area, V's mean assistance, X needs help, and then any type direction you're pointing that's the direction of travel. So you have V, which means it needs assistance. You have the X, which means emergency assistance needed, and then you have an arrow, which represents the direction of travel. So if I was to leave this area and try to self-rescue, I would want to make sure I use either some stones or use some duct tape or some sticks to show a direction of travel. But in this scenario, we're going to be putting an X on our shelter using the contrast of the orange to help draw attention to my rescuers, and then the X is also going to have contrast as well. So keeping in mind our different methods for signaling, we have, like I said, number 1 is sound, number 2 is light and reflection, number 3 we're talking about is contrast. Taking some simple duct tape, and putting an X across our shelter indicates that we are in need of emergency assistance. So far we have covered sound, sight and reflection, contrast, and the last form of rescue is movement. Using movement to your advantage when it comes to signaling. And that could be everything from doing the hand signals, trying to get movement with the contrast of the background, or what is called flagging. So Trini's going to demonstrate some techniques for flagging. Once again, raise it as high as you can and wave that flag in hopes that you get rescued. In this case, we can hear a train off in the distance, so this would be a perfect opportunity to try to flag down people on the train. So unfortunately the train's too far away, so we need to be able to do some other type of signal to be able to get maybe somebody's attention. The flagging's not working, so now we're going to result to our 5th process of rescue, which is using smoke or fire, and it's going to provide light and reflection from the flames. It's going to provide smoke, which is going to give us contrast in the background, and by using green boughs, the green boughs are going to put off a black smoke against that white background of the sun and the sky. So we're going to have sound, or we're going to have sight and reflection of the sun, or light from the fire. Then we're going to have smoke for contrast, and then also the 5th one is smoke and smell. Smoke and smell, and be able to have those are going to be signaling techniques as well. So the train's coming. We want to get this sucker lit up so that way we can get their attention and hopefully get rescued. Definitely getting lots of smoke now. Gonna definitely increase our odds of finding rescue. Keep blowing, we can't stop. Don't. Definitely getting tons of smoke right now. We really need it going up though. But you can see because of the boughs, we are getting a kabloom. Look at that smoke cloud. You hear the train? I think they're seeing us, Trinity. Come over here and wave at the train. Say, rescue us. Help us. We need rescue. Now that, my friends, is a signal fire. That's not a signal fire. That's a signal fire. And if you had any type of excess as far as rubber or something you were to find, some human refuge, you could throw some rubber on there. It's going to give it a real black, nasty looking smoke. And you can just see the woods are filling up with smoke right now. So we covered a lot of different techniques for signaling for rescue today, and I just want to highlight those real quick before we wrap up. Once again, we talked about, you remember any of them? Flagging, that's right. So we have motion, movement. Any type of movement, you're going to be able to increase your odds of survival. You remember some of the others?
Smoke.
Smoke. And so you got smoke and smell. That's going to be one of them. Can you remember more?
Noise.
Noise, that's right. Sound. So how many whistles do we blow?
3 and then pause.
3.
And then 3.
3, then pause, and 3. That's right. 3 is the universal distress number, and SOS is a universal distress signal. And so we have, let's look at them now. We have sound with the whistle. We have, which one?
Light.
Light, that's right. So we have sound, we have light and reflection, we have contrast with the ground signaling, we have movement with the flagging, and then we have smoke and smell, which are kind of combined. They're going to be a contrast, and also the smell is going to draw people and help people see. Now, once again, if you're a child, you want to avoid starting a fire, but some of these techniques are especially important for kids. Something as simple as a flashlight, a good flashlight, and a compass, and a whistle. They should always have them when they go out into the woods. And then a simple means to build a shelter. One of the other techniques that kind of goes along with movement and light is called the signal windmill. And Trinity's really super excited about it. You want to grab the glow stick? We're going to do this later tonight. And so we're going to show you our signal windmill. And you take something as simple as a glow stick. Once again, you can put this in your kid's pack. And you can put this in your kiddo's pack. And we're going to show how to do a signal windmill. So remember that rescue is the goal of every survival situation. Once you have met your core needs, shelter, fire, water, and in our 6th principle of food, you want to make sure that during that process you're always keeping rescue on the forefront of your mind. You've met your first aid and security needs, and you've mitigated the risk and fear by setting yourself up. And the biggest key is to always be prepared. If you're prepared, you're going to be able to survive any survival situation. So preparation is key. Whenever we talked about in our earlier principles about making sure that people were aware of where you were going with the ISO prep report, if you haven't watched that, be sure to go back and watch some of the earlier principles in the 6 principles of survival. By being prepared and having proper equipment and lifting a good ISO prep report, you're going to be able to once again help make your rescue process much quicker. So instead of getting rescued 72 hours or a week later, by having good equipment and a good ISO prep report left behind, then you're going to be able to expedite the process in which you get rescued in a survival situation. If anything, make sure you always let someone know where you're going and when you're going to return. At the minimum, and especially for your kiddos, talk to your kids. I can't tell you how important it is that you talk to your kids about not wandering off into the woods by themselves, and to always check in and let you know what they're doing. My kids have a very strict rule that they check in every hour, even if they're playing in the backyard, a fenced-in area. I want my kids checking in. I want my kids letting me know what they're doing at all times. It isn't about being a strict, overbearing parent. It's about being responsible and teaching your kids these principles. Also talk to your kids about what to do in the event of an emergency situation when they get lost. And talk to them about how critical it is that they stay where they're at. We call it the hug a tree principle. Have them talk to them about finding a tree and staying there and not leaving it. So all these are important principles when it comes to rescue. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode, and I want to thank Trinity, give me a high five, for helping me out today. That was a cheesy high five, and we're going to wrap up our sixth principle with food procurement. So you guys be sure to stick with us.
I was going to ask a question. What if they starve to death in the tree?
What if they starve to death in the tree? Well, the good thing about that is you can go 21 days without food. That's a long time without food, huh? And we're going to talk about that in our next episode, and to teach you on how to not starve to death. So tell everybody bye. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in and checking out another episode. Be sure to stay tuned for episode numbers, or the sixth principle. Can you show them number 6? That's 6. The sixth principle of survival, and we're going to cover that in our next episode. So be sure to share, subscribe, and check out some of the products online. Once again, this rescue tarp back here, the emergency shelter tarp, you can get that on our store, as well as some of the compasses that I mentioned, the Kaminga, the True Arc, and the Endure compasses. Find those on our store at survivalgear.us. And thanks again.